Hey, it's Dr. Story. How do you treat running injuries? The best way to treat them is to not get them. So I have a lot of patients who are runners. I myself used to run a lot, and one of the things that's interesting is runners get tons of injuries. Plantar fasciitis, stress fractures in their feet and their shins and their heels. They get knee problems, they get hip problems, back problems. And the reality is that you could treat those injuries after the fact, and very often with chiropractic we have the ability to treat these injuries and get them back, but I always try to promote good running technique. And one of the things is that running is difficult to train people in simply because there's nothing to buy. It's a technique, and most people think that they can just go out and run. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice that I give all my patients to help with their running injuries. The first is I tell them to buy this book. This is the greatest book that I've ever read on running. Now there's a lot of different books that have various opinions about running technique, but they all sound like this one, and this is the easiest one to read. This is called Chi Running from Danny Dreyer. I really like it. I found it useful when I used to run. And the whole concept is, if your technique is good, you do a mid-stance fall on your foot. Your foot is relaxed. You're not pushing off with your big toe or landing hard on your heel. Your body weight is in this above and slightly forward. You have a slight lean. Your body's relaxed. You have a high cadence. All these things are taught in this book. I know people who have running coaches, and the running coaches make everything super complicated, and essentially what it boils down to is this book. So when I actually try to help people learn to run this way, a couple of the key features of this book is I try to train them in how to simply stand tall, get their body straight, and I teach them how to lean and yet relax their foot. If they can do that, then I try to teach them how to run essentially flat-footed. They're not on their toes, and they're not a heel striker. It's somewhere in the middle. And this often is really 80% of Chi running right there. So I tell people it's the best $15 that you'll spend on a book. There's videos now. I bought this book before there was even YouTube ability to see people run. But constantly working on your technique is very, very important to prevent running injuries. The second thing that helps with running injuries is to stop running on concrete. I always tell patients a little joke, and that is that a tiger, it's natural for a tiger to run. You would never say running is bad for the knees of a tiger. Tigers are meant to run. But if you took a tiger and put him on concrete and asked him to run 26 miles at a moderate pace, that tiger would eventually develop injuries. And most people laugh and they kind of get it. And I say, what was a tiger meant to run on? Well, God meant for this tiger to run on grass, gravel, sand, dirt, in its natural environment. So I always try to tell patients that I understand 5, 10 Ks, half marathons and marathons are primarily done on concrete. That doesn't mean that you need to train on it. So find a park. There's a park north of us, about 2 blocks, that has a dirt track. It's awesome. There's plenty of parks around the area that have nice grass to run on. There's the beach. We're only about 8 miles from the beach, and the beach is very smooth. And I always tell patients, don't run next to the water, run in the deep sand. It's a great workout. So I tell patients, run on sand, dirt, gravel, grass, run off-road. This is much more natural for our body. And as a result of that, you don't need special shoes as much. If a tiger was supposed to run on concrete, we would need to design a shoe for its paws so it wouldn't get injuries. It's the same thing here. Your reliance on a perfect shoe is much less if the shock absorption from the ground was increased. So number one, buy this book, Chi Running by Danny Dreyer. Read it again, try to learn the technique. If it's so difficult to do that, and I haven't met a patient that can't do that, hire a coach to train you and teach you good technique. Good technique prevents injuries, and thus you need less of a chiropractor to essentially treat those injuries. The second thing is run on natural areas. Don't run on concrete. Try to get 80 to 90% of your training on those natural environments, and that way when you actually do run your marathon or your half marathon or your 5 or 10K, it's not so you haven't accumulated as much trauma on your body. So if you thought this video was interesting, give me a thumbs up, let me know you're watching, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any specific questions about running injuries, ask them in the comment section below, and I will answer your questions. Thanks for watching.